Hi guys, I'm Nick from Breda and I am a passionate cook that loves to work with technology as well. So today we are going to help you guys prepare different dishes from the Italian cuisine. We're going to start with the tagliatelle and we're going to finish off with a nice dessert, a panna cotta. So are you ready to get started? Let's go! First we're going to start with the dessert. This is going to be a panna cotta that has to stiff for a few hours in the fridge. What we have over here is a bowl of water for the gelatin to melt. We have a bowl of cream. We have a vanilla bean for the flavor. And what we have here is cinnamon, also to flavor up, some sugar, some nice chocolate to make a chocolate version of the panna cotta, and a crumble of cookie. So what we are going to do is we start with the vanilla bean. So you need a very sharp knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the marrow out of the vanilla bean. So there we go. You see? So we're going to add the vanilla to the cream. Like this. Everything. So we are going to start with adding the cream with the vanilla bean into the pan. And we're going to stir the sugar and the cinnamon in it as well. We'll add the cream. So it takes around 5 minutes for the vanilla to get its flavors into the cream. Same with the cinnamon. So we can just add 1 cinnamon to it, would be enough. And the sugar we will add a little bit later. So after 5 minutes we are going to take out the bean and the cinnamon before adding the sugar. So now what we are going to do is going to spank a cookie. Probably you've never done this before, but it's a lot of fun. So what we need is a little bag and the cookies. We're gonna put them in the bag. So it's going to stay here. It's going to stick here on this plank. There you have it. So what we are going to do now is we're going to add the crumble into a little bowl. So we are going to add the cream butter to the crumble. It's a cookie and it turns into a cookie crumble. And we're going to add the gelatin to the water. It takes around 3 to 5 minutes before it's going to be wet. And then when it's wet and soft, we can squeeze it out and add it to the cream that we have on the fire right now. So what we're going to do is to create a pan with cooking hot water so we can melt the chocolate. This is cooking hot water. What we're going to do is just add a bowl, or you can add a plate on top of it. So the steam is hitting the surface and we are going to add the chocolate. So the chocolate will be melting. So now I'm going to remove the cinnamon and the vanilla bean out of the nice vanilla cream. And now we are going to add the sugar. So the cream is fine now. We only have to add the gelatin to it, and we have to wait until the chocolate is molten. But what we can do now is already prepare the glass that you want to use as the dessert glass. So what we're going to add is the crumble to the glass, and we're going to add the gelatin to this pan. You see, it's perfect like this. You can squeeze it out. Add it over here, and then we have to cool it down. So it's really hot right now. It just boiled. So we're gonna add it in a like a small pool of water in the sink, so it can cool down faster. And the gelatin is in here, so we can stir it around. The chocolate sauce is already melting. So after the crumble, we are going to add the chocolate sauce as a second layer in the glasses. So we're going to add the crumble to these glasses. These will be our dessert glasses. And we're going to press them on the button. So like this. So now we are going to add the chocolate sauce. As you can see, it's nice and molten. Like this. Well, if you like chocolate, you can just add more. And now we are going to add the final recipe, our delicious cream, to the glass. So once we have added all the cream to the glass, what we are going to do is we are going to put it in the fridge. And once we put it in the fridge, the chocolate sauce and the cream will be becoming much harder. The cream will be more stiff because of the gelatin, and then you have like a fluffy dessert with a crusty chocolate and with a crunchy cookie on the bottom. So we are going to add the plastic layer on top of it, just to make sure that all the flavors that are in the fridge are not going to change the flavor of the dessert. So make sure you cover it up and then put it in the fridge. Yeah, now it's time to cook the pasta. And what we have is two different flavors, so the fennel pasta and the tomato pasta. What we have here as well is some fresh herbs. So I think that's the secret to any sauce. Add fresh herbs, so don't use dried herbs, use fresh herbs. And what we're going to start is we're going to preheat the oven, and we're going to add the fennel in slices to it, so it can cook in around 20 minutes. So we're going to preheat the oven on 230 degrees. What we're going to do is first cut the fennel, add it to this little tray that we're going to add to the oven. Make sure you have olive oil, because you're going to sprinkle it with olive oil, and add salt and pepper to it with some fresh herbs. So first we're going to take a fennel and the lid. Remove all the pieces. And then you can see that you can very easily remove the hearts. And these are the pieces that we are going to slice in nice pieces for on the oven tray. So we just add some olive oil on top of them. Spread them a bit. And then we add some like fresh herbs. We have different herbs over here. We have parsley. Let's grab some parsley. We have thyme. And we have oregano. This is what we can cut. And we put it on the side. So when it's done, we don't have to sort it all out. And the bigger pieces, like the non-edible pieces, you can very easily remove from the tray. That's it. We can also add a little bit of pepper and salt. So let's get the tray to the oven. The oven is preheated, like it takes around 5 minutes. Open it up and we put the tray in there. And then make sure you have 20 minutes of oven time for the fennel to be ready for you. So what we have for the two different sauces is, we started with the fennel, that's in the oven now. For the fennel sauce we have lemon and pine nuts, and we also have some, of course, some garlic and red onion. Garlic and red onion is the basis of every sauce, so make sure to have a yellow onion or a red onion. The yellow is a little bit more sharp than the red, so you can use the red also for salads. So you don't have to cook them. You can very well use them in a salad. So we are going to make a side dish salad with some red onion that we have left and some mozzarella. And what we have here is we have ricotta and we have crème fraîche. And crème fraîche is delicious together with rucola, with like a nutty flavored lettuce, you can finish off any pasta. So we're first going to start to cut the onions and peel it. So see, that's quite easy to clean these onions from the skin. We are going to remove the lid and the tops. And this is what we do before we're going to wash all the vegetables. So put every vegetables that we have, like also the tomatoes. 500 grams of tomatoes for one person, which sounds a lot, but when you are cooking tomatoes, you will see that every tomato will be shrink down like over 80% because it's all water in the tomato. And the garlic that we have plenty. We can also peel. So like we need 2 of them. And you can very easily peel these by putting a knife on top of it and crushing it like this. Now it's much easier to peel. So add everything to the bowl and let's start washing it. Oh, this one as well. Here we go. So what is important now? We are going to prepare a tomato sauce, and what we have to do for that is that we are starting to use the onion and the garlic as a flavoring of the pan. So this one we are going to use for the tomato sauce, and the other one, the red onion, we are going to use for the fennel sauce. As fennel is white, you like to add some more colors to the dish, so that's why a red onion is very useful there. And the fennel itself has a lot of flavors, so you don't need that sharpness of the onion to it. So what we're going to do is we are going to cut the garlic. We're gonna cut the onion in rings. Why? Because if you cut them in very small pieces, like for your frikandel speciaal, you won't be seeing them anymore in the dish. And what we are going to do is we're going to cook them, and they will be softer and softer. And in the end, you will still see that there is onions in the dish. So that's why we are going to cut them in rings. And you can very easily cut them in rings by just going from left to right. So these are the basic ingredients of any sauce, but we are going to make a pasta sauce where we are going to start to heat the frying pan. And that's what we're going to do with olive oil. Olive oil, the oil of olives can preserve the most heat. So if you're going to wok, or if you're going to make a dish that should be very hot, please use olive oil, because it doesn't burn under, like, over a certain degrees, like 160 degrees. Normally oil starts to burn, but this can take over 200 degrees Celsius in a pan. So let's go to the frying pan and start cooking the onions. So we have 2 pans, a frying pan and a cooking pan. Some people call it the sauce pan, because this pan will be used for the pasta and this for making the sauce. So the English words might be not the right fit in this way. But we're going to add olive oil to this pan. Make sure it's plenty. And put it on a high heat. So this is like on 8. So it starts to boil, like it starts to cook, and the oil starts to be like crisping around in the pan. So you see the fennel is starting to get brown. So make sure you turn them around in between the 20 minutes. So you have to watch your fingers. It's extremely hot, it's 230 degrees. Then the other side can turn brown as well. So there you go. And then it can finish for another 10 minutes. So you see the oil is about to boil like water. And you see the steam is coming off, so you know that this is really hot. So don't touch it with your finger. And start to add the garlic You'll hear the crispy sound, so you know it's hot enough. Because we make two different sauces, you have to make sure that you're not adding both of them to the pan. So we start here with the onion, the yellow one, and all of the garlic soon are going to get some of the garlic out of it. And now we are going to make sure we are going to cut the tomatoes. So if it's going too fast, just put it aside a bit. So that's my strategy for not having anything black. So don't overburn the whole food over here. And now we're going to be back there. What we can do already is add some spices and herbs. So thyme is delicious. Some oregano and some parsley. There are two ways to add spices. You can cut them like I did in the oven, or you can add the whole parts in it. This is hot water we're going to have for the pasta, so that can be cooking. Pasta is going to take 8 minutes if it's a non-fresh pasta, and if it's a fresh pasta that you create yourself, it takes a while. So it takes a few hours to create it. Then you only need to cook it for 3 minutes. Then it's al dente, and al dente means it still has a bite. So the pasta still has a certain bite. So let's start with cutting the tomatoes. The riper they are, like the softer they are, the better they are for sauces. So you can pick like the cheapest tomatoes in the store that are too ripe, and you use them for a sauce or for a soup. So that's what you can take into consideration. It's probably half of the price that new, like fresh tomatoes have. Just cut them in pieces. So once you have these cubes, like they look a little bit like cubes, we can turn on the heat again, and we're going to start to add them to the pan. So the whole idea of using fresh tomatoes is that you are going to cook them into the water you cook outside or out of the tomato into a sauce. So instead of using sieved tomatoes that are already soft, now we are doing that with fresh tomatoes, and it takes a little bit more time. So it takes some time. You give it like 20 minutes, and then you see it turns out into a sauce. So now we're going to take the fennel out of the oven because it's well, the spices are black, but that doesn't matter because it's only for the flavor. The fennel itself is nice and brown, so the fennel is great. So you're just gonna park it somewhere. So what we are going to do in between at the time that the sauce is being prepared, we're going to make a small side salad. And therefore we are going to use fresh mozzarella and some of the red onion. We have a spare if we need it. And we are going to use a lemon and of course some fresh spices. What we can do is we add the basil to the side salad. Gonna cut the garlic that we still have left. We're gonna have basil. The bigger the leaves, the more flavor they have. So now we have the basil over here. We can cut it in pieces, but not everything, or not too small pieces, because it's nice to see. Well, what we can do is grab some extra leaves, but it's nice to see that we have added some green to the dish. So not just the flavor is great, also the color, the red and the green, the white from the mozzarella and the green. So we're gonna add some of the red onion. And 1 tomato. You can also use cherry tomatoes, as they have a lot of sweet flavor. So I really like to have cherry tomatoes on my salad as well. Here now we are going to use normal tomato. So this tomato sauce is like almost finished, and just to finish it off you can add more spices or you can add wine to it. So what I would love to do is turn down the heat here. We are going to add some chili. This dish is finished. We only have to add some nice olive oil to it. These great big salty chunks. So the side salad is done and we can serve it. Okay, this sauce is almost finished. We have to still finish the fennel sauce, and we have to add the pasta. So grab a few of these and add them to the cooking water. We're going to turn on the heat for that pan. Of course, with olive oil. Just the bottom layered in oil is enough. Of course, we start with the garlic first. And if you add it earlier than it starts to boil, just keep it with the garlic. So stick with the garlic until it boils and the garlic starts to turn brown, and then add the onions to it. So most of the vegetables they contain a lot of water. That means that it becomes from baking it turns into cooking. So the water turns into like a liquid, like then you are cooking, and you don't want to miss out the flavors that come that open up while you're baking the garlic, from a very strong taste to a very sweet taste if you do that with the garlic, but also with the onion. So the spice of the onion is gone after baking it for a few minutes in oil. What we're going to do as well is we are going to bake these pine nuts, not too long, just a little bit brown, so they have a little bit more crunch. And of course, all the spices. So I took the spices out of the sauce, like the big ones, and we are going to add some fresh spices. It's so nice to have a little bit of freshness added to the pasta. So once it's cooked in, like the flavors are cooked in, you miss out the freshness. So you can do that by just adding the leaves to it. So we're gonna add a little bit more dimension to the pasta sauce. So we're adding this beautiful red wine that we're also going to drink. So a small layer is enough, and just make sure you spread it over the pan. Here the pasta is getting soft, so make sure it's under water. Always add a little bit of water, make sure it stays on the water. So we have the pine nuts we are going to add here as well. Make sure the onions start to color a little bit brown. So you'll feel that they will get softer and softer, and then we have like caramelization effect. So the onion from a very spicy flavor are turning into a sweet flavor. So just adding, for example, white wine to this will give you a beautiful white wine sauce already, just with two flavors, the garlic and the onion. So let's add the pine nuts. We're gonna add it to both. and the fennel. And this sauce is now done, so we can turn it off the heat. Like this one as well. Yeah, okay. Bring it a little bit warm. And let's check the pasta. You can see it in the color of the pasta. If it starts to get white, you will see it starts to cook further. So while the inside is still a little bit yellowish, you have to taste it. It's very hard to see it, but if it's all white, you know it's overcooked. So this might be al dente already. So what we're going to do is put it off. This one too. And we're going to taste it. It's slippery, but let's taste if it's al dente. So the little crust that I told you, it's different than a crust of a nut or a crust of something else, but you'll feel that it's still a dough. So the dough flavor, the hard dough flavor is good. Just a little bit too hard, but what is important now is that we add the pasta to the sauces. So we will cook the pasta in the sauces for 1 minute, just to have all the flavors in all the pasta, and then it will be finished. We are going to pour the water out of the pasta. The water is flavored as well, so if the sauce is not wet enough, you can add the olive oil like this on top of it. And now we are going to spread it over the two different sauces. So just mix it up, make sure all the flavors are getting in there. And this is ready to be served. So this as well, we can put it on a very low temperature, like 1, that one is on 2. You don't overcook it. And now we are going to prepare the plates where you're going to serve it on. So make sure you have a deep plate with pasta sauce, then it won't squeeze away out of the plate and it stays in there. So to finish off both sauces, we're going to add the ricotta to the fennel sauce, the fennel pasta, and we have the crème fraîche. The other part I'm going to do it on the plate, so I'm just gonna stir this up a bit. So the ricotta makes this pasta a creamy white sauce, and the tomato is of course a red sauce, which means that you can choose if you want to use a red wine or a white wine red with the tomato sauce and a white wine with the cream sauce. It's also something that's a preference. What you can do as well is, if you use white wine, you can add a little bit to this sauce, like we did before with the red sauce. In the tomato, we added some red wine, so that's it's an additional flavor to the pasta. Make sure you cook it a little bit, because the wine, the alcohol of the wine will be out once you cook it a bit, and then you just have the flavors of the grapes in it. So here we go. This is done, and here we can stir this in. So you see that's going to be a nicer sauce. And now we can put it on the plate. So this is like the basic pasta, but now we're going to add some herbs, of course, and we're going to add the last crème fraîche to it. So let's do it over here. So of course, an Italian dish is not complete with Parmesan cheese. So we add some to the dish, and make sure you put it on the table, because people love a lot of cheese, so they can add it the amount they want. Then we add the crème fraîche on top of it. Some rucola. Some basil. And if you like, you can add some salt and pepper, or some more lemon juice to it. Here's the fennel pasta. And here's the tomato pasta. So this was my delicious Italian cooking course. I hope you liked it. I hope you made it yourself. Here you see the panna cotta, which has been in the fridge for over an hour. As you can see, it's already thick enough to start eating. So if you want, you can start with the panna cotta right after your amazing pasta. So this is the bolognese without, of course, meat. It's a tomato pasta with onions, with garlic, and with fresh tomatoes, and that's perfectly fine now. So have a nice try, and I hope you enjoy the food.